think this also ties back into, again, that localism conversation that we were having before.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in just 1 second. First, let's talk about the things that I've said many times when it comes to economics, is that I'm a communist in my own house, and I'm a high-level capitalist when it comes to the greater areas of elevation. Mm-hmm. So the further you get out from my local community, the more capitalistic and free market oriented I am. In my house, I have a joint bank account with my wife. Mm-hmm. Right? My wife earns significantly less money than I do. It does not matter. It is both of our money, right? Which is what we tell our kids. It's not daddy earning the money. It's our family earning the money. And our family is communist because we're a family. But I'm not going to be a communist with some rando over in North Dakota. That's not my job. Right? I don't know that person. I love my family more than I love that person. And anybody who tells you they don't love their family more than they love rando is lying to you. It's just not true. And so what that means is that social solidarity has to be the predicate for any policy. And ironically, what's been happening is that as social solidarity breaks down, people want more control at the top level of government to try to create an ersatz social solidarity. And that's not going to happen. It's going to make the problem significantly worse. So if you argue to me in my local religious community, right, my local synagogue where I'm Orthodox, which means that in my community there are 300 families in our synagogue. We all know each other. We go over to each other's houses. We babysit each other's kids. If you said to us, we are going to have a synagogue subsidized national health care single payer program, I'd be like, okay, that's worth arguing about. Like I'm definitely willing to have that conversation. I know all you people. I trust you people. I trust you're not going to be a free rider on the system and take advantage of the system because I know you. And there are social penalties for you not doing it. Right? If you refuse to engage in the duties of the community, then we cannot have you over for lunch, right? We cannot have you at the synagogue, right? There are certain penalties that attach, but you can do that at a small level. As you abstract up the chain, it becomes more and more difficult. And one of the things I see, and this happens pretty frequently on both sides of the aisle, is an attempt to take your top level solution and cram it all the way down in a universalistic fashion. So people will take sort of a democratic socialism that might apply in your local community, and they'll say, okay, well, I want to apply that at the national level, but that's not. You can't do that. Or you'll say libertarians will do the same thing. I'm a libertarian. I think there should be no internal penalties for any individual decision that you want to make. That's not going to work in your family, and it's not going to work in your local community. In other words, the levels of control that you exercise ought to change based on the level of abstraction that we're talking about.
I think that part of the problem is we don't see each other as fellow Americans at all. And we're so divided that, I think you make a valid point in, at least some portion of the country wanting to reject some of these national policies or national programs. They don't see someone living in here. You know what? I'll put it in the context of the left and honestly what my own biases were and what I used to see the middle of America as and how I've kind of grown away from that. This is kind of embarrassing to admit, but I'm obsessed with that show Yellowstone, specifically because it kind of destroyed my preconceived notions about a huge part of this country, right? So the show, I think, does a good job in tearing down stereotypes about people in Wyoming, definitely, but ranchers, conservatives, all of that. You watch that show and you start remembering, oh, wait, yeah, they're Americans. They're like us. They have maybe a different lifestyle, but at the end of the day, they want the exact same things. I think what's important is to, again, bring the temperature down for a second and give Americans accurate information about what the policies would really do, and then allow them to vote on that on their own, right? Instead of trying to sway them in one direction or another. Americans know that healthcare is broken in this country. I think that, there's a lot of, on both sides, certainly. I mean, corporate Democrats and corporate media like MSNBC, they hate Medicare for all. I mean, they've been tearing it down from the beginning. Same with CNN. The question that we heard over and over again when Bernie Sanders was running and promoting Medicare for all was, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? Okay, great. They don't ask the same question when it comes to shelling out tens of billions of dollars for a war effort in Ukraine. There is no debate about it. Now, look, I happen to think it's important to help Ukraine defend itself, because we made security commitments after Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons. We were part of those negotiations. I think it's important to keep our promises. But with that said, it is interesting how the corporate media puts its thumb on the scale. They pretend like, oh my God, this is the most costly thing in the world. How are we going to pay for it? But when it comes to other issues, like issues that would enrich defense contractors, there is no conversation about how we're going to pay for it. That's a problem.
I mean, I totally agree that we should always have the conversation.
And so there it is. Again, it just falls back in terms of, which side that you're on. And so Anna made some good points there, that corporate Democrats, when they talk about something in many aspects, and I guess you would say probably Republicans too, but many times it falls on a Democrat. We ask them, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? Where's the money going to come from? And on those issues, we ask where the money is going to come from. But like she said, Republicans, corporate Democrats, funding Ukraine, sending multi-billions of dollars. It's going to be close to $150 billion of aid that we send to Ukraine. No one's asking, how are we going to pay for that? They nickel and dime the American citizens on things to help Americans with. American families, American workers, American companies, small businesses. That gets nickeled and dimed. Oh, Social Security, Medicare. I mean, oh, you know what? We don't have the money to pay for that. We can't do that. We can't cut their hair. We got to cut something over here. We got to cut something over here. We got to shave it over here. I mean, that's what happens. But do we ever take a look and go, you know what? We're sending $50 billion package of aid to Ukraine. Did they even look at it to say they just come up with a number, $50 billion, write the check, send the money over? Did somebody say, why 50? Why not 40? Why not 30? Why don't we just give them 10? And then see if we can, where's that conversation? It's not there. It's occurring on both sides. And the American people, American citizens, American businesses, small businesses in particular, are getting screwed. They're getting the shaft. No Vaseline, bend over, take it. That's what's happening. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Comment below. Let us know what you thought of this debate, part 5 between Anna and Ben. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.